Following God halfway isn't enough. Almost obedience is still disobedience.
Two tribes, Greenland, a choice that felt wise, but wasn't God's plan. This is the story of Numbers 32, and it's not really about land. It's about almost following God. Pause and reflect on how we can be so close, yet miss God's full call. It started with Reuben and Gad. The land the Lord subdued before the people of Israel is a land for livestock, and your servants have livestock. Numbers 32:4. They had a lot of cattle, a lot of responsibility. Like us with our blessings, possessions can distract from the journey ahead. They looked at the land east of the Jordan. It was green. It was fertile. It looked good. So they said to Moses, "Do not take us across the Jordan." Numbers 32:5. Not away from God, not against God, just not all the way. Moses rebuked them, reminding of past failures. Numbers 32:6-15. The land was close, just across the river, but it wasn't the promised land. And God's promises are not about proximity. They are about obedience. Almost there is still not there. Jesus would later say, "Not everyone who says to me, 'Lord, Lord,' will enter the kingdom of heaven, but the one who does the will of my Father." Matthew 7:21. Let me ask you, are you following God or following Him when it's convenient? Is your faith about Him or about the green pastures He provides? Because compromise always sounds reasonable at first.
Why the Promised Land and why Numbers 32 matters. Israel wasn't traveling to the Promised Land just to get somewhere. They were traveling because God called them there. This journey began with a promise made to Abraham. Go from your country to the land I will show you. Genesis 12 verse 1. The Promised Land represented God's faithfulness, God's presence, God's plan. It wasn't just land. It was obedience lived out. They left Egypt because Egypt was slavery. I have come down to rescue them and to bring them into a good and spacious land. Exodus 3 verse 8. But leaving Egypt wasn't the hard part. The hard part was trusting God all the way. The wilderness wasn't wasted time. It was preparation. The Lord your God led you all the way in the wilderness to humble you and test you, to know what was in your heart. Deuteronomy 8 verse 2. God was shaping a people who would depend on Him, not just for freedom, but for direction. The Promised Land was where God would dwell among them. I will walk among you and be your God, and you will be my people. Leviticus 26 verse 12. That's why where they settled mattered. Closeness to God's presence mattered. Connection mattered. And that's what makes Numbers 32 so dangerous. Because Israel is almost there. The Jordan River is right in front of them. The promise is within reach. And that's when two tribes stop. Not because they rejected God, not because they stopped believing, but because they found something that looked good enough. The land is a land for livestock, and your servants have livestock. Numbers 32:4. Green land, comfortable land, convenient land, but not the promised land. And here's the warning for us. The greatest danger isn't turning back to Egypt. It's stopping just short of where God called you to be. Because almost obedience is still disobedience, and half-hearted faith always costs more than it seems. This is the story of Numbers 32. Two tribes, one decision, and a lesson about why following God halfway is never enough.
At first, everything worked. The tribes east of the Jordan prospered. They built homes. They felt secure. But comfort has a quiet cost. Later in Scripture, when idolatry begins spreading in Israel, the tribes east of the Jordan are hit first. Distance from God's place slowly became distance from God's presence. And this is where staying connected becomes everything. Because distance doesn't make you stronger, it makes you drift. They didn't reject God outright. They didn't stop believing. They just stopped staying close. Scripture warns us about this. Take care, brothers, lest there be in any of you an evil, unbelieving heart, leading you to fall away from the living God. Hebrews 3:12. Falling away doesn't start with rebellion. It starts with drift. Jesus said it plainly. Abide in me, and I in you. For apart from me, you can do nothing. John 15:4-5. When you disconnect, fruit dries up. Conviction fades. Compromise feels reasonable. God warned Israel long before. Take care lest you forget the Lord when you have eaten and are full, and have built good houses and live in them. Deuteronomy 8:11-12. Comfort is often the moment we loosen our grip on God. The celebration of the feasts began to feel too far to travel. Worship felt inconvenient, so they made their own altars, their own feasts, their own version of faith. And slowly, they stopped following it all. Paul warns us, do not be deceived. Bad company corrupts good character. 1 Corinthians 15:33. Distance changes you, but connection protects you. Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering. Hebrews 10:23. God never promised himself to a half heart. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. Jeremiah 29:13. So what is your walk about? Comfort, safety, convenience, or Christ? Because almost obedience is still disobedience. Follow God all the way. Bring the wife. Bring the kids. Bring your whole heart. This isn't just history. It's his story. Follow the channel. Stay in the story.
Numbers 32 reminds us that almost obedience is still disobedience. God didn't call his people to settle short. He called them to follow him fully. If this challenged you, don't stop here. Subscribe and stay in his story.